Let's get started with a simple question. How do you measure success in your life?
I guess it depends on what part of life we're talking about, right? Work, health, relationships, finances.
Stop. You obviously have no idea. That's okay. It's rare to find someone who does. But don't you think that's a problem?
What?
That people want to live their best lives without any idea of how they're measuring success.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of like playing a sport without knowing how you're keeping score, right?
Exactly. You and most people ought to figure out what your y-axes are.
Axes.
Whatever.
What do you mean by my y-axis?
Let me show you. Look at this. See that star?
Yeah?
Consider the star to be the theoretical highest point of success you can reach in your life. Let's call it your max potential. Okay? And if you're living your best life, do you agree that life should keep on getting better and better? You don't want to reach your max potential when you're 40 and only go downhill from there, right?
Yes?
So that means your max potential is at the end of your life, whenever that is.
Hopefully in a long time.
Hopefully, because you're obviously nowhere close to your max potential right now. You're here talking to me after all.
Fair enough.
So your life path probably looks like this so far. And this is your projection.
Ouch.
On the bright side, you have a lot of opportunity to do better.
Oh, now I see what you mean by y-axis. It's the y-axis on this chart. It's how you measure progress towards your max potential, right?
You're not as dumb as you look. Yes, your y-axis is your personal scoring system for the game of life.
Okay, so what's my y-axis?
That's the big question most people are too busy to ask. Or they figure it out when they're too late in the game to do much about it.
But wait a second. Back to what I said earlier. Aren't there a lot of factors that go into your y-axis? Health, relationships, finances, etc. It's not a 2D chart. It's like a 8D or something crazy like that.
Everyone asks that question.
It's a reasonable question.
Sure. Let me ask you this. Would you agree that the clearer you are on what your y-axis is, the better you'll be able to make decisions that guide you up it towards your max potential?
Yeah, what gets measured gets managed, right?
And if you don't have a clear idea of what your y-axis is, guess who jumps in to influence your decisions?
My wife, my boss, my mom.
Even worse, your monkey brain.
Monkey brain? Is that a scientific term?
Scientific terms are only for people who pay full price. We all have monkey brains. They're the ones below our human brains. And they suck at making decisions because our monkey brains only care about survival, power, passing on your genes, eating ice cream.
Popularity too, right? Oh, and making lots of money, of course.
You got it. And your monkey brain is highly emotional. Greed, lust, horniness, laziness, things like that motivate it. You don't want a monkey making decisions for you, do you?
No.
But that's what most people do all too often because they don't give their human brain a y-axis to guide their decisions.
I don't always act like a monkey though.
But you do often make short-sighted, emotional, and stupid decisions, right?
Sometimes.
Okay, so the point of having your y-axis is to do so a little bit less often. Every slightly better decision you make adds up to steadily climb up your y-axis.
You've convinced me. So how do I figure out what my y-axis is?
Well, first, let's think of some criteria.
Criteria?
Yeah. If people aren't given guidelines, they tend to come up with not the greatest y-axes.
Like what?
Well, super complicated answers to start. 8D y-axes, like you mentioned. Those are exhausting for our human brains to use, so they get tired.
And the monkey brain takes the reins again. I see.
Oh, you're paying attention. Nice. So the first criteria for a y-axis is that it be simple and straightforward.
Just one measure?
Ideally.
Like freedom, maybe? Or happiness?
Those are okay, but not ideal either.
Why not?
Because what happens when you have complete freedom? Or when you're totally happy?
Then I focus on something else. A different y-axis. I see. So that different y-axis is the one I should focus on to start.
Right. So that's y-axis criteria number 2. It should have no ceiling. That way, your max potential has no max.
So if I live forever, it keeps going up.
Correct. And this also leads us to the third criteria for a good y-axis. It should be accumulative. Points you score up to move up your y-axis should build on each other over and over, even compound.
Wait a second. Money's accumulative, and it has no upper bound, and it's simple, so it fits all 3 of the criteria. But I'm sure you'd agree that the amount of money you make is a crappy y-axis.
I do. Playing the money game's no way to live your best life, because it doesn't meet the next criterion for a good y-axis. It can't be competitive.
What? But I like competition.
Sure, there's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but if you have to do better than others to move up your y-axis, your success depends partly on them. but their performance is out of your control. And not being in full control of your climb toward your max potential is not a good thing.
Sheesh, coming up with a good y-axis isn't easy, is it?
As Coach Jerzy Gregorick said, easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life.
And no choices, no life.
Yeah, choose a y-axis. It's better to have something rough than nothing at all. You can always improve it over time.
Any suggestions on how I figure out what my y-axis is?
Of course, I have some exercises. But since you cheaped out on the budget session with me, you'll have to do them after our session on your own, along with all the other freeloaders who watch this video.
What? Our session is being taped?
You should have read the registration forms more carefully before you sign them. It's for a good cause anyway.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, my y-axis is growth. Not just for me, but for others too. So I share these sessions to show people how to think for themselves to figure out fresh ways to move up towards their own max potential. You might want to subscribe.
Okay, I will.
Do it now.
Oh, okay.
And click that bell thing.
Fine.
Great.
Okay, now that we're done pimping your channel, can we get back to finding my y-axis?
Yes.
My y-axis doesn't have to be growth like yours, right?
No, it can be something else. I've seen lots of decent y-axes. Balance, memories, understanding, appreciation, fun, harmony.
Okay, cool. Because those all sound kind of corny.
Yeah, but what you've been doing hasn't exactly been working wonders for you. So maybe you should give it a shot.
Fair enough. Bring on the exercises.
Exercise number 1, deconstruction.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Not really, but it works well. Here's what you do. Ask yourself, what are your absolute favorite things to do that never go stale? What do you most hate doing? What are your proudest accomplishments so far in your life? What are your biggest regrets? Then, for each of your answers, the next step is to ask yourself, why did you choose those things in particular? Ideally, write them down, then look for commonalities. Those will hint at what your y-axis is.
That makes sense.
Good. And whatever ideas you come up with, keep honing in with the following thought experiments.
Ooh, I love thought experiments.
Great. Me too. Ask yourself this. If you had unlimited money in eternal youth, what would you work toward?
Some ideas are coming to mind.
Super. Just keep in mind the criteria we went through. Simple, ceilingless, accumulative, and uncompetitive.
Right. Okay. I'll have to think about it more.
Also ask yourself, what y-axis would you recommend to someone else who you really hope wins at life?
Like my son.
Yeah, like him. We can often give better advice to people we care about than we can to ourselves.
Like you're doing for me now.
Exactly. And speaking of others, ask yourself, who's kicking butt at the game of life you want to win at?
The people that first come to mind are famous people. But then again, I doubt if I asked them if they're living their best lives that they'd say yes.
Yeah, best to think of someone you know the behind the scenes truth of what their lives are really like. Then think of what measures they're scoring way more points than you at, and whether that might indicate what your y-axis is.
Got it.
And here's another thought experiment. Imagine you could brainstorm your y-axis with your half your age self and with your twice your age self. What do you think all three of you could agree on?
Well, I was pretty naive when I was 17 and a half years old.
And you'll think the same of yourself today when you're 70. But each of you will have a different perspective that might help you choose something.
Cool. Any more exercises?
Yes, but that's enough for now. Most important, you got to choose something rough and start using it ASAP. Your y-axis won't help you just by staring at it.
Suggestions?
Tame your monkey.
But don't spank it, right?
If you want, but that's different. What I mean is that when your monkey mind starts hollering at you and compelling you to act out of jealousy, greed, or impatience, try asking yourself, is this helping me move up my y-axis? And if not, what can I focus my human mind on instead to move towards my max potential?
I'll try my best.
You better, because that's how you get a little bit closer to living your best life. It's probably not the easy solution you hoped I'd give you, but if you try it, you'll do a bit better than before.
Cool. Thanks. Doctor?
No, thank you for listening. Until next time.